voice revenues reaching saturation levels, there is a need for operators to leverage their data assets. In the current scenario, smarter subscribers want OTT services where they want constant access to social media and the ability to send and receive media on the move. Partnerships are the best way to grow together. There are dumb pipes that can be monetized by the operators by forming OTT telco partnerships. Such partnerships will help both the stakeholders grow together. It is in this spirit that we would like to introduce the topic for the final panel discussion of Communique 13, the expedition of telcos and OTT player, from competition to competition.
To guide and channelize the discussion, I would like to call on stage the moderator, Ms. Gagandeep Kaur, Editor, Light Reading India. Ma'am is currently working as an executive editor for Light Reading India, a US-based research-led media house covering the global telecommunications industry. In her present capacity, Ma'am is covering recent developments as well as technological trends in the telecom sphere. Also, Ma'am is regularly interacting with senior management of companies operating in the telecom landscape and is responsible for delegate and speaker acquisition for prominent events like Mobile Broadband Summit, 4G World India, and Next Generation Packet Transport Network. With over a decade of experience, Ma'am has worked for prominent Indian publications including DataQuest, Business Standard, Times of India, and Voice and Data magazine. As a freelancer, Ma'am has worked extensively for Indian as well as several respected international print and online publications like World and Eye, Women's E-News, IPS News Service, Hindu Business Line, and India Together. Ma'am, SITM welcomes you to Communique 13.
I would now like to invite Mr. Bharat Wadhwa, VP Advertising, Flytext, to please come up on stage. Sir is a digital marketer with 2 decades of work experience in digital domain. He has had extensive multi-channel exposure in the fields of sales, media planning, buying and strategy with his broad expertise in the digital marketing ecosystem. Sir has launched various innovative campaigns like Tata Docomo animated ad on TV and McDonald's McFlurry launch on augmented reality platform in India. McDonald's campaign got nominated in Cannes Awards as well. He joined Flytext with in-depth experience in digital marketing and several innovative new launches to his credit. He is the receiver of a Business Growth Driver Award from Graham Bell under the Innovative VAS category. His last position before joining Flytext was with Omnicom Media Group as the AVP Digital and Mobility Services, where he was responsible for digital strategy of brands like HP, HTC, GE, Sony, SanDisk, and Monster India. Sir oversees the mobile advertising division of Flytext with his extensive experience of working in some of the leading media agencies in India. He has been a jury member of India's prestigious awards, MVs, of Ad Club Bombay. Sir, SITM welcomes you to Communique 13.
The distinguished panelist that I would like to call upon next is Mr. Rohit Bhatia, CEO, Dhingana. I request, sir, to kindly join us on the dais. Dhingana is the leading global Indian music streaming service. Before joining Dhingana, Sir was handling business development for futuristic cloud computing solutions and driving sales for innovative mobile commerce and multimedia solutions at Ericsson. Prior to this, Mr. Bhatia served as the CEO of Seamless, transforming the Swedish startup into a multinational company with a presence in over 25 countries across the world. Seamless.se is a mobile payment software solution provider listed on NASDAQ OMX. Sir has also served as the first head of new product development for Bharti Airtel, where he developed value-added services as the new engine for revenue contribution, customer retention, and brand recognition. Sir, we welcome you to Communique 13.
Next, I would like to call upon stage Mr. R. Venkateswaran, Chief Technical Officer, Persistent Systems. As the CTO of Persistent Systems, Dr. Venkateswaran is responsible for the technology roadmap of his company, covering high-end technology consulting, business, innovation, learning and competency development, and IP-related investments. Sir joined Persistent Systems in 2002 and has undertaken various roles over the years. Sir was the head of telecom business and strategic initiatives around business intelligence, cloud computing, enterprise collaboration, and mobility. Prior to Persistent, he worked for 7 years as a researcher at Bell Laboratories and also at the CTO office at Lucent Technologies. Sir holds multiple patents in the area of ATM multicasting and has authored numerous research papers that have been published in reputed journals and conferences. Sir, we welcome you to Communique 13.
Now, I would like to take this opportunity to call on stage Mr. Rahul Razdan, President, IBIBO Games and Mobile. With 16 years of diverse experience behind him, Mr. Rahul Razdan heads IBIBO Games, and since 2012, he has also helped the India launch of the top global mobile product from Tencent. Sir began his professional career with Sony Entertainment Television, heading the new media operations. He then joined the School of Convergence, where he taught media management to postgraduate students. Sir has also worked with Satyam Computers as a lead usability consultant, advising CXOs of Fortune 500 companies about their online products. He left Satyam in 2006 to be a part of the founding team at IBIBO Games and led its various verticals as a part of the core management for over 7 years. In 2009, Sir founded the IBIBO Games business, and as the president of that, took it to industry leadership in India within 2 years of its launch. Sir, we welcome you to Communique 13.
Our next panelist is Mr. Sarovar Agarwal, Principal, AT Kearney. Sir is a principal at AT Kearney, India, and has over a decade of experience in consulting and various other industries. He is a core member of the communications, media, and high-tech practices at AT Kearney in Asia. With extensive experience of advising telecom CXOs and CEOs across India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Cambodia, Indonesia, Middle East, and the US. His area of expertise includes large-scale cost and organizational transformation, new business entry launch strategy, and telco functional strategies in the field of retail, network, customer experience, and customer segmentation. Sir, we welcome you to Communique 13.
Our next panelist is Mr. Amit Kanji, DGM Marketing, Telemedia B2C, Bharti Airtel Limited. May I request Sir to kindly come up on stage. An alumnus of Symbiosis Institute of Telecom Management, Sir joined Megas Kolkata as a marketing executive. After working for firms like Dishnet DSL and BPL Mobile, Sir joined Bharti Airtel in 2004 as an assistant manager in marketing. Since then, Sir has worked in various roles at Bharti Airtel, some of them being DGM Marketing in VAS, DGM Marketing in UNR, and from the past 11 months as a DGM Marketing in Telemedia B2C. Sir, we welcome you to Communique 13.
Our final panelist is Mr. Ramyang Pandya, Vice President, Service Management, Wholesale Business and Data, Tata Communications. Sir is the Vice President, Service Management, Global Service Provider Business Units in Tata Communications. Sir has over 23 years of hands-on experience in IT, solution providers, and distribution and telecommunications industry with specific skills in sales, product development, and customer service. Sir has worked with companies like HCL, Zenith, CompuAge Infocom, and BenQ. Associated with NGOs and actively involved in education field, Sir is a non-visiting faculty at Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning and Thakur Commerce and Science College. Sir, SITM welcomes you to Communique 13.
I would now request our moderator, Ms. Gagandeep Kaur, to kindly initiate the discussion.
Good afternoon, everybody. Before I start, I would like to congratulate SITM for putting up a spectacular show. It's one of the most well-managed events I have attended. Now, coming back to the topic, OTT players and telcos share a symbiotic relationship. They both need each other. OTT players need telcos for network and billing, and telcos need them for driving the data traffic. The era of offering vanilla voice services is over, and now telcos have woken up to the reality of cohabiting with the OTT players. The threat to the telcos now is that OTT players are eating up their revenues. If one goes through the latest financial results of the Indian telcos, the SMS revenues has already come down rapidly. And now in the future, it is not just SMS, but voice revenue is also under threat. So now without much ado, I would like to ask Amit, who is from one of the largest operators in the country, how do they perceive this threat? Is it already a threat in India?
Well, thank you, Gagan. Hi, friends. Well, actually, right now, there is a threat, I believe. Like, if I see on 1st of January, when I was looking at my handset and I was expecting a lot of messages to be poured in, wishing me, I was not finding anything. I thought like whether my popularity charts are actually down or not. Then I switched on to Facebook and then saw like all my friends are there wishing Happy New Year to all their Facebook friends. And I also joined them. So that's how, like, if I would have actually sent around 100 SMS but that particular day, I didn't send any. So for any telco, that is almost a loss of ARPU of 100 rupees. So this is where the telcos will be bleeding on the SMS revenue. But at the same point of time, if you see like SMS revenue contribute to around 3 to 4% of the gross revenue of any telco. Whereas if you go up the value chain where the OTT players are adding more value is in the transmission of multimedia files, the data revolution is actually having a good catalyst in the form of OTT players. There, where the data revenue is contributing to around 15 to 20% of the total gross revenue, we have a very good scope of increasing our revenues. So where we are getting cannibalized on the 3% of the revenues, there is an ample scope of growing on the 15% of the revenues. So that's a give and take relationship where, and I believe if there is a competition between the OTT players and the telcos, there is a win-win situation for everybody. So like for any telco, our best or our greatest assets are the network. So we are already sweating out the voice part of the network. And we are investing heavily on the data portion. So where we have already reached a optimization point on the voice networks, there is a huge scope of sweating out our data network. And with 2G, 3G, 4G coming in the play, where we have a lot to grow in the number of subscribers. If you see our, being India, specifically if India, well actually our SMS penetration was not that great because our rural penetration is quite high. So around 35 to 40% will be our SMS penetration. So we don't have much to lose on the SMS side, but we have to gain a lot on the data side. So I believe the OTT players, they actually play a very key role in the transition from the large screen to the small screen. Small screen means the smartphones and other mobile phones. So where we have a large scope from the OTT players to help us in actually getting into partnerships with the telcos, in building up the customer base and sharing the profits.
Thanks. Rohit, would you like to add to that? Because you started the VAS portfolio at Bharti Airtel, so you have a lot of experience from the telco side also. Would you like to just add to that?
Thank you, Gagan. How many of you here listen to music, if I can ask? Oh, wow, everybody. And how many of you listen to Dingana? Oh, at least I see half of the audience. Thank you very much. So you're all in a way my customers, and what I think, see, I've had a, let's say, God has been kind, had a unique opportunity of being the first head of value-added services for Bharti, although it was Bharti Airtel, although it was 10 years ago. Then I was abroad, and now I have come back to run Dingana. One thing I am seeing is that the telco or the mobile operator has to really identify who their real enemy is. You know, all this talk about OTT players. Are all the OTT players the mobile operators' enemies? Perhaps not. But yes, some of them are. You know, if you look at what are the operators' key strengths, right? They bring a network, they bring a great distribution. You know, you can go to the smallest town, smallest village, you'll find you can get an operator's SIM, like many FMCG companies have done. But I think the operator's biggest asset, biggest assets, which I believe that they are themselves not exploiting that much, is real-time billing. Imagine I think most of you here would have a prepaid connection. The moment you make a call or you make anything related to data, or, you know, instantly you are billed for it. It's the greatest asset. So I believe that the mobile operator should exploit this asset. The other thing is that they should see who their real enemy is. Yes, if somebody is eating into their space of getting into billing, that is where they should block them. But if you look at a player like Dingana, which is offering premium content, licensed content on music, then let them flourish. And what would happen then? Then the operator will be able to use their data. So that's my message. The operators should realize that billing is their biggest strength, and then see which OTT player is my enemy, and for sure they should block them. You know, they have invested millions and millions of dollars in building this network. So how can you just let anybody encroach in this space? Block those players, but at the same time, if you see a player like, again, I'm not saying it's only about Dingana, it could be also a gaming player, it could be anybody who is bringing rich content, because content is the king. Encourage them. But anyway, I'll when my turn comes again, I'll elaborate more on it, but that was my message.
Well, blocking, I think a number of operators have tried that in the past globally. It hasn't been very successful. Global operators did get together 2 years back, and they formed RCS, Rich Communication Suite, to fight the threat from OTT, because blocking is obviously a very short-term thing. Maybe Sarovar can add his perspective.
Yeah, in fact, when I look at RCS, Gagandeep, I really don't see where it's going to go in the long term, right? Because it's too much, behind where OTT is today, and the way OTT is evolving, it's very difficult for operators to catch up. So from my perspective, I think telcos really need to think about OTT, and think about how they can become smart enablers. And when I say smart enablers, what it essentially means is, we heard, they've got the network, they've got the customer data, and that's very, very powerful. And what these OTT players are looking for is a way to channelize that, to tap into that. So telecom operators, they can essentially provide platforms that enable these OTT players to leverage the network and the customer data. They can also enhance the whole ecosystem, right, by creating or enabling partnerships, alliances, standard definitions, all of that. And the third aspect that I think telcos can really do well at is leverage extensive customer analytics. I think if they're able to develop deep insight on customers, like we heard right from Rohit, they've got real-time information on whatever customers are doing. And in the US, in fact, and that's being challenged at a regulatory level, but AT&T, Verizon, all of these guys are already talking about monetizing customer data. They think it's a revenue stream for them, right? So they've got to that level. So leverage all the customer insights and really use that, channelize that to provide greater value to the OTT players as well as to their end customers. That's how they should be really approaching this whole OTT challenge. And just one other point, right? I mean, it's a passing remark, but if you really look at operators' success stories when it comes to, and again, with due respect to Rohit, their success stories when it comes to VAS, it's really far and few in between, right? I mean, yes, if you look at M-Banking, there is Safari.com in Kenya and their whole M-Pesa initiative which took off, but there's fundamental challenges, right, in terms of what a telco's key strengths and capabilities are, and what the requirements of the whole M services business and ecosystem are. And I think there's a little bit of divergence, at least in my view, on that. So.
Coming to that blocking of the billing, actually for the telcos, typically in India, actually we have a lot of operators. So the customer market share will be lying between 20 to 30% of the major telcos. So if we actually block one of the, suppose WhatsApp or Facebook, so what will happen is that we are cutting down the community of our users. So when we block the community, what happens is a huge churn out of our subscriber base. And somebody who is using data, and a data subscriber ARPU is much higher than a normal vanilla customer. So what happens is that while saving 10 rupees, I might lose out 160 rupees or 170 rupees. So that is why it is not viable to block anybody, because of churn out of customer base.
What I meant by blocking was that currently, after returning after 10 years back to India, what I see is that mobile operators do have this tendency of blocking. They are raising impediments to each and every OTT player. And that is when someone like WhatsApp, someone like Facebook comes and then basically goes over the mobile operator's head. So what I meant by blocking was that an operator should really realize that what a powerful asset they have in terms of real-time billing and analytics, and then encourage the players which are going to add more to the monetization of the data pipe. You guys are all aware that there was a recent Google published that by the end of this year, we are going to have, Google said, 60 million data-enabled Android phones. And out of that, nearly half of them, which is 30 million, are going to be app-savvy. Right? So 30 million by the end of this year are going to be data-enabled and downloading apps. Now, if you see, although Google has created a great ecosystem called with Android, but Android doesn't have an inherent billing system, right? The ones of you who use an iPhone would see that it has an inherent payment mechanism or a billing system, but Android doesn't have it. But who can exploit it? It is the mobile operator. But if the mobile operator thinks narrowly, and whenever a OTT player comes and says, sorry, we will not let you, then what are they doing? They are not using their biggest asset, which is real-time billing. So what I mean is, look at your asset, encourage the players, and again, this is not a story about Dingana or what, any player which is coming and bringing to you a value-added service, which can monetize your data and monetize the Android ecosystem, encourage them. But then there is a player, maybe it's too late for you guys to step in and block WhatsApp, but if a great system would have been created with such a great unity in the mobile operators, I think WhatsApp wouldn't have risen. But it has now, it has become so big that it is going clearly over the operator's head. Not only in India, but all over the world. So that's what is I'm trying to say.
So are we saying that it's already too late for telcos to respond? I mean, would you like to respond to that? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so let me take a little bit, since I'm neither a telco nor an OTT player, so I can kind of play both ways. So just to talk about, extend what Sarovar was saying, and also to respond to what Rohit was saying. So Rohit said that, content is king, but if you look at it, it's actually the experience is an emperor. So the quality of experience is something that is really much bigger than the content. So that's where really the telcos have a very niche. They have been handed that over on a platter, where they can really have a very good sense of providing that experience to the end user. If you look at typical OTT, any of the OTT players, the mindset or the value that they bring in is the experience to the end user who is using that service or that application. And in the apps world, what we have seen is that 95% of the apps that get downloaded get used once, or probably not even, just open it once and then don't open it again, or you delete it, primarily because the experience of that app that you, as a user, when you download it, you have some expectations from that app. It typically doesn't match it because, one, of course, it could be that the developer quality might not have been good, but there's also all the network and other related things that come in, which really make the app not a very good, doesn't give a very good user experience to the user who's downloading that. And that's where I think the telcos have a very large role to play. And if they can leverage, some of the points that Sarovar mentioned, that's, the customer identity, the location, the real-time billing, the ability to track usage, and overall provide a good quality of experience based on, that is personalized, that is relevant to that end customer, then that's something that, I think that they have a very, they can really leverage the assets that they have and be a winner in this space than being considered as a loser. And in terms of talking about, what you said about, don't block it or something. I mean, Steve Jobs had a very good quote there, which said, if you don't cannibalize your own services, somebody else will come and cannibalize it for you. So, telcos, if they play that game of, there's no one else coming to eat our lunch, there's definitely the OTT players coming there to eat their lunch. So they need to watch out for that, leverage their assets, and be in this place as a winner rather than, a bystander who lets their business go by.
Absolutely, I think.
I'll just add on to that part. I think the way we see telcos in India, and especially for people in the industry, you guys are still studying and aspire to make a career in this industry. Those of us who've been in the industry, this is an academic forum, so we'll be very civil and we'll put out our best of our behaviors. But otherwise, just to kind of give it as a concept, telco is made out to be this huge, big entity who's in the epicenter of this entire ecosystem. And others kind of are like small satellites once in a while, wanting to be at the mercy of a telco or hoping that a telco would white label their services or products. I think that epicenter shifted with the emergence of iPhone completely. And in a deliberately extremist argument, irrevocably. I think telcos today have to figure out a relevance for themselves. Yes, they have to see what their strengths are. But they no longer are the epicenter. You're absolutely bang on, Venki, when you say it's experience is emperor. I think the entire ecosystem of apps, I think telcos had that opportunity. Telcos had that opportunity 10 years back, and they did a pathetic job of it. I think first the iOS ecosystem, then the Android ecosystem, to the extent I'll even consider a BlackBerry and a Windows phone ecosystem, and they are so small and kind of struggling for survival. Each of them experientially are giving more value to consumers than what the telco ecosystem did. I'll also pick on 2 points. You mentioned about billing. I think telcos always knew how that they were sitting on the opportunity to bill people. In fact, during my, we were one of the earliest gaming companies to get into real-time billing with telcos. But tell me, how does a business work when a telco says for every 10 rupees that a customer gives, you keep 2 rupees, I'll keep 8 rupees. If you're a bigger guy, okay, you keep 3 rupees, I'll keep 7 rupees. And then for smaller guys, it goes to even abysmal rev shares. And that continued for much of a decade. I mean, that's the way the entire ecosystem. I heard in the earlier keynotes also, a lot of talk about ecosystem. I think telcos have never done anything to create that ecosystem. Apple and Android have done. and it's irrevocable. I just kind of, at least on this comment, I'll just conclude by saying, I'll quote, in fact, Randall Stevenson, he's the CEO of AT&T. In 2012, last year, he made a comment. He said that by 2014, please expect data-only packs coming out from AT&T, in which case the existing strengths of telco, which are voice and SMS, telco, and this is AT&T speaking, is willing to cannibalize it themselves rather than waiting for somebody else to come and kind of change the rules of the game. But that's the kind of vision and foresight and an acceptance of where the the change is headed into. I think Indian telcos, at least in my opinion, I would love to. In fact, I think there's some very interesting points that Amit made, and I'm very glad from a telco perspective is making those points. If telcos in India also kind of somewhere start seeing that well in time and create value for everyone rather than get into these adversarial or then thinking of a co-option model when the horses have kind of bolted. So I think that's what I would say on this one right now.
That was a very strong statement coming from a very prominent OTT player here, and so it's all gloom and doom as far as OTT players perceive the telcos. But on the other hand, telcos have very strong assets which they should leverage, like networks, spectrum, their relationship with the subscribers. They have very strong brands, and most of them are perceived, and security-wise, I think the telecom operator network might be slightly more secure than an OTT platform. So Sarovar, would you like to talk about, or Mr. Pandya?
Let me just rewind this dialogue which was happening a little bit earlier. It was an interesting dialogue between OTT and I sit in between both. I have, I don't know how many of you, let me just take an opportunity. How many of you know what Tata Communication is all about? Okay, excellent. So, okay. No. Why I took this question was that there is an interesting, a bridge between an OTT and telco, which is Tata Communication, and this. It's not about branding Tata Communication, but it's an opportunity which I want to floor onto the table for everybody to understand that we still are talking about whether OTT or whether telco or whether OTT is eating away telco or telco is trying to block OTTs. But the clear trend which is there, which is coming, though in India we haven't seen much of an OTT eroding the revenues of the telcos, and hence what Amit was saying, that yes, definitely there is some threat, but it's not so prominent as much as we have. But the beautiful combination of OTT and telco has worked very well in Africa continent, by say, and if you talk about Kenya or those kind of countries which are considered to be behind us, but have beautifully amalgamated OTT as well as telco together, and have actually reached to a kind of a sharing of revenues with them, where each other is not cannibalizing each other's revenue, but each other helping each other to bring more revenues. So if we see that as a market, the Africa as a market, or some of the Far East Asia regions like Vietnam and all others, those kind of understanding of how coexistence of both the technologies can be, how each one can help each other in bringing more revenue, and as Venki rightly said about the experience, bringing the best experience which a normal OTT player will not be able to bring it, is something which needs to be created in Indian context as well.
Bharat also spoke earlier, was telling me offline that they are helping the telcos to take advantage of the assets that they have. Would you like to talk how best that they can leverage their assets?
Sure. See, today, if you see, the game of competition is completely changed. It's no more a scalability or reliability. Today, when we talk about the mobile as a domain, it's more of a choice and flexibility. We all know, like, there was a time when Skype and Viber kind of thing is being used by the early adopter of technology guys, but nowadays it's been used by a common man. In fact, even a granny, she's using a Skype to talking to his or her grandson, on Skype. So that is again another area. Now, when we talk about the telco has three main business layers. One is a distribution, which is the untapped potential for telco. If we talk about the second one, which is the connectivity, today, we are talking about OTT and telco, but please understand, telco and OTT both are complementary. OTT players are always relying on the telco to give them the connectivity. If there's no connectivity, OTT may not be able to do much. On the backup side, telco is always, fighting very hard for the commoditization of the pricing. Like if you take an example of a car and a gas, if the gas prices goes down, sale of the car goes up. It's a normal economic theory which we all have learned. Now, if telco reduces the data charges, I'm sure the more and more people will come and they use all the OTT application and everything. Now we talked about the service. As we all know, whatever we do, telco is knowing exactly everything. They even know what are the numbers on which you are making most number of phone calls. They know how much time you're spending on the mobile phone, where exactly you are, whether it's through GPS or any other thing. Telco is the only one player which actually knows in and out about you. So what we are doing as a Flytech as a company, we actually tied up with the telco very closely, and we do the data mining of the telco data on a real-time basis under a behavior. We call it tag. So basically what happens, like we talk about Skype, Viber, chat, or any other OTT application. Today, when an advertiser goes, or the media buyers or strategists goes, pick up a application and they say, look, I want to target, let's say, youth who are in Symbiosis, who are in Pune, a radius of, let's say, 500 meter, or maybe a youth who's having a smartphone, who's spending a decent amount of time on a mobile phone, making X number of phone calls, STD phone calls, downloading X kind of application and all. All this behavior, all this data is there with telco. Now, unless and until the OTT player gets this kind of behavior from telco, they may not be able to target the people in the right way, nor they would be in a position to charge premium from the brands. On the contrary, telco has another problem as well. Amit, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Telco says, look, I'm ready to give this insight to you, but I do not want to disclose the name of the person along with the number because that's the breach of the security. So what we guys do, we create this persona under a certain bucket, and tomorrow if somebody wants to identify who's the customer, what is the target audience, we pull out this data from the entire operator behavior pack on the real-time basis, and we give it to the brand and the OTT players without disclosing the name of the person. That is the one area where if telco and OTT can partner together, there's a scope of making money for both the partners.
Right, thanks. Rahul, would you agree with what Bharat
No, I
said?
think I'll just add on to that. What Bharat is raising a very important aspect, that the telco knows a lot about what the customer is doing. But look at what the telco knows. It's all on the behavioral side. And also on the behavioral, it's all on the spending side. What have you spent? How much did you, what was your last subscription, etc. Do they know your gender? Do they know who your family are? Do they know, what are your likes and dislikes? Actually, they don't. So therefore, people like Bharat have to play the role of creating personas, and that's a value that they are kind of, providing to nameless, fleshless humans that, telco is interacting with. Now look at a social platform. They know your name. They know your who your family is, who your friends are. Again, behaviorally also, they'll go the next level. Behavioral, they'll tell you exactly what is your, what exactly are you doing? What are your likes in terms of interest? Do you listen to music on, and do you publish your playlist on Tingana? So if you see the nuance and the last mile information that an OTT player in the social side especially can have, I'm saying again, this is not apples, this is not, this versus this. If you see the two of them are almost mutually exclusive. So perhaps, and maybe that's what the panel out here is also trying to suggest, there are areas where if the two of them can become heavily complementary, then you're talking of a phenomenal value that can be added. I think the debate, not only in this discussion but outside also, seems to be on areas where we are stepping on each other's toes rather than how we can create substantially, increased value for everyone. Just remember this analogy again. Telco knows my billing pattern, what are the things that I've done in terms of my activities purely from telco side. They don't know the softer aspects of who I am. The social OTTs, on the other hand, would know all these aspects. So I see a very good ground for maybe somebody should kind of come up with a service where they merge the two and create a sandwich layer or something like that.
Rahul, I just want to highlight one thing here. Like, as I said, we get the data on a real-time basis from telco. Telco exactly knows who you are. Because of, thanks to the KYC kind of information which telco is getting on a regular basis, they exactly know you are Rahul, this is your number, this is the amount you're spending. And another thing where the telco scores higher as compared to social media is, in social media you can create a fake identity. In telco you can't.
No, but I think, and you only refer to the point where when I am filling up a KYC form while taking a mobile connection, it is not with the intention of eventually getting profiled. On the other hand, on a social media, yes, there will be that you have to factor in the margin of error where all the information may not be true, but all of that information is what I want to be seen as. So it's information about myself that I am comfortable, putting out on a public or a semi-public platform. So the KYC, if KYC forms are being used to kind of profile, I'm saying again, there will be issues of privacy that if not in this forum, some other forum somebody may raise.
Yeah, just to extend to what Rahul is saying, when we did an analytics on the KYC, what we found was that most of the time the KYC is filled by the father or the patriarch in the family, and the phone is actually used by the kids. So your profiling that you do based on KYC is completely off because, you look at the KYC and say it's a 40-year-old male, while the usage is of a 20-year-old teenager, or a teenager or a 20-year-old or whatever, right? So KYC may not be the right way. The other thing was, just to add to what you were saying, Rahul, is that knowing the social profile, the identity is still one. Most of them start using the phone number as the identity. If you see WhatsApp, that's what they do, right? Your phone number is your identity. And so if the operators, the telcos can kind of leverage that, they now have a much complete picture of the subscriber, not just the, their usage pattern, their billing pattern and other things, but also their social profile, which is likes, dislikes, interests, and also if they do some level of analytics on the unstructured text on the Twitter or the Facebook text content, they can also get to know a lot more than just simple profiles.
Well, actually, what Rahul said and Bharat said, I just want to add one thing. Well, both the OTT players and the telcos need to actually sum up the information to come to a more physical attributes of our customer. From the telco side, it's not only the billing pattern what we get to understand, it also the location-based pattern actually, where he goes, from where to whom he actually calls the most frequently called numbers. To some extent, if he has a history of using value-added services, what genre of songs he likes as his caller ringback tone, or what kind of songs he downloads. So that throws a complete entertainment history and preference level of a normal customer. So with this, mapped with the images on Facebook, snaps taken, sharing with whom he actually shares, we can actually map a complete personification of that particular customer.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So KYC is only one form. Apart from that, the platform we have, which actually tells you, okay, you are the one who's heavy, photo uploader. He, downloads most of the e-commerce stuff. He is on the chatting side. So it actually pulls out the complete profile. So the kind of robust platform we have, it actually helps you to understand what kind of persona you are. So KYC is only one norm. In fact, India is still very organized. We recently launched a service in Bangladesh where most of the people are using second SIM or maybe the third SIM. So you need to see all the angles, and there are many more things. I'm sure, Amit can throw light in the due course of the debate. Telco is getting, which nobody else is having right now.
May?
Yeah, please.
Are you saying something, or may? My young friends, I think you might be getting lost in we all have experiences, and at the same time, those experiences come with some notions and prejudices. So let me take the discussion a few notches down. You're hearing in this forum that there is a symbiotic relationship. We are also hearing that there needs to be, there could be complementary, if the OTT players and the telcos complement each other, both could thrive. I think the problem which in my humble opinion, which I am sensing is, which I think I think it was Mr. Pandya who said that as well, that when the OTT player steps on the toes of the telco and vice versa. And I think because there is not a clear understanding, so we see that some telcos sometimes have a predatory approach, and any OTT player, they try to pull them down, and similarly some of the OTT players, they try to get into the telcos domain. And I'll give you a very simple example, although it is 10 years ago, when I was the head of Bharti, it was my first week in job. I had a very small team of 2 management trainees who were fresher, come from college, like yourself, they were very young. And one day I found that, after lunch, both of them were missing in action. And I started looking for them, and then I found out that we had a recreation area and both of them were watching a cricket game. And I said, guys, I understand that, cricket is important, but how can you watch this cricket game during the work hours? And they said, sir, no, we are not watching the cricket game. We are taking note of the score so that we can upload it on our content portal. And I was aghast. We as a telco were trying to get into the domain of giving content to the subscribers. So the next thing I did was, the next week I had a meeting with India Times, because those are the guys who are generating content. So we had a great partnership, they getting the content, we providing the billing and the distribution and the network, and that is how it thrived. Like that, then we added few more as well. So I would say that in many ways, if we try to use the same analogy, okay, in those days it was SMS, now we have moved to data. So if the operators try to see that, there's a great data pipe we have built, there is a billing relationship, there is security, all those assets, and then let us look at what the OTT players are bringing. It could be a great complementary symbiotic relationship in which everybody wins. Most of all, who will win is the consumer, because then they will get to enjoy the content with security, m-commerce and all those things. That's my view.
So I'll just take what Rohit was saying. How many of you are receiving SMSs from your telco providers? Some SMSs, right? How much are those SMSs relevant to your taste? Excellent. Great answer. Second, how many of you are going on Google and doing some search? Right, excellent. How many times have you seen that on the right-hand side of your screen you get some ads which are relevant to what you have searched last time? How much are relevant? Excellent. So what Rohit was talking was, how can we marry these two? So the SMS which is sent by your telco to you is exactly what you see on the Google search. On the right-hand side of your screen, those advertisements which comes as a scroll bar to you. These two are two different, and what Bharat was also trying to say, that their platform tries to integrate this both information and try to give what exactly is required, and what even you were trying to say on the same as. And that's the ecosystem which probably is currently missing from the whole picture. And the debate currently, if I have to just summarize the debate which we are going is A, the revenue, eating each other's revenue and stepping each other's toes, not relevant much in India, but globally it's a hot topic to be discussed on every telco forum, whether it's GSM, and that is a global GSM association across the globe, or any other telco forums which you visit. That's the talk which is happening, that how do you collaborate with OTT, or how you can, shake hands with OTT. And currently both of them are in different islands. Telco is a complete different island. They still are, trying to bask the glory which they had 5 years back or 10 years back. And OTTs are young generations like all of you sitting there, who wants to move at a fast speed, who wants to keep on innovating very fast. Telcos are normally not known for innovations. Traditionally, telcos are very, very bad at innovations. And the OTT players are only on innovations, and they are not much onto the user experience. Yes, definitely few of the OTTs are coming with great user experience as well. But the differentiating fact which everybody was trying to say is that the assets which telco has on which the OTT is riding, and the newness or the freshness of the applications, or reading at the last mile, or as we say, the last mile in the telco, the last leg on which things ride on, is with OTT. So there are multiple, attempts being made where, there can be a central exchange which can be produced where the OTTs are connected to those exchange, as well as the telcos are connected to those exchange. So those efforts are getting built, and companies like Tata Communications is one of the key pioneer in this kind of technologies, where we built on to the platforms where the OTTs are connected as well as the telcos are connected. Today, the biggest thing would be a landline connection, which is now becoming a little rare in the world as well. But yes, a non-data enabled phone receiving a call from a Viber, or without the Viber having to go out of the IP network, and the non-data enabled phone not going to go onto an IP network and even call a virtual number, which normally is now coming, and what he was saying about a data pack, that there is no permanent number, it's all virtual number policy which is coming all across the globe. So you actually do not have a physical number, you have a virtual number, which is mapped to an IP directly. The way Viber works, it takes your physical number and maps to an IP. Now you have a virtual number mapped to an IP. So those innovations are dearly needed, where telco embraces OTT rather than OTT embraces telco.
Well, actually, what Sir said is actually correct. So voice is another, we were talking only about SMS and WhatsApp, but voice is another segment where we need to look how the OTT players can also play a role in it. But currently for that, if I have to write the voice on IP, my network, the telco network, also needs to be that kind of robust enough to have proper signal strength. Otherwise, the quality of service will really go down. So for a 900 kind of network, it might be little bit more easier. For 1800 kind of network, it will be little difficult to provide that quality of service for a VoIP customer. So when the option is only a voice communication, customers might choose a normal communication over a IP communication. But surely, if we have to break it into 3 or 4 different sectors like SMS, well, I believe the telcos need to actually relook into their strategies, and might be they have to plan a retreat. For voice, I believe till now with the current of network the telcos have built up, they have to manage it and hold it for some time. And for the other, media or cloud, these are 2 opportunities where the telco should be getting prepared for. Because this will be huge data explosion which will take place on both cloud as well as media. Lot of files, lot of advertisement, lot of online activity, gaming will start happening on this portion. And parallelly, the telcos need to build up their network so that they can carry on those packets.
Yeah, I'll add one more, which is M2M, which, the next thing that is coming up, the Internet of Things or M2M, that's something that telcos can take the lead now that, it's still in fairly early stages. If they take the lead and can be a key player in that, I think that would be one area where they can make a significant impact before the OTT players can get in.
See,
Most of this discussion, actually centers around telco. Most of this OTT telco equation discussion centers around telco. But actually being an OTT player is also not easy. Keeping up that pace of innovation, always. is I think a humongous task, and I think this space is open for consolidation also right now. There are just too many OTT players coming up. So Rahul, being on that side of the table, how do you see it evolving?
I think you're raising a very valid point, and I think this is a point Mr. Pandey also raised, where I think to say all apps, all OTT apps are the same would be an unfair comment, and you'll find there are some which are being used much more by a certain set of users. Then you're talking of apps which have picked up scale. The kind of scale, if you talk of Facebook, let's take Facebook, you're talking of billion plus users. Now, which telco has billion plus users? So you're talking of an OTT app which has managed to pick up such a humongous affinity with the users and has had to reinvent itself all the time. And it is facing a lot of heat from, say, the likes of WeChat, the company that I kind of represent in India, which is redefining the way people are socializing and talking to each other. One of the examples I'll give, and I think this is on the humorous side. So somebody asked someone, so what phone do you use right now? For what phone do you use? A phone? Oh, you mean to say the device that I talk to my friends on Facebook, leave my tweets on, sometimes do a Google search, sometimes read up on, and yes, once in a while I make a phone call also on that. Oh, that device you're talking about, I use an iPhone. So that definition of device is actually, if you just reflect, all of you, and in fact, I think it's for everybody in the consumer, every one of us who's in consumer, see how much of your phone do you now put to your ear and use for a phone call, or you just, consuming OTT apps. So I think the challenge for OTTs is to create value. I think Rohit mentioned a point, which is a baseline. It's not about profitability for corporations, enterprises, telcos, OTTs. It's about value to the user. If the value to the user is given, I think profitability is a given. We've seen companies which reach a certain scale based on giving value to users. Monetization starts, valuations start becoming very well, and then business becomes a really profitable proposition for everyone. You really created value for everyone, rather than starting with revenue and profitability as your starting point. The consumer experience and consumer value being a side byproduct, I think that's a very short-sighted and negative way of looking at it. Eventually, apps which add serious value to users' experiences and what their expectations are of these devices, I think those are the apps that will continue to do well. And yes, they'll have to keep on innovating all the time.
If I can, what you said was great, and I think let me allow me to build a little further on it, Rahul. And here, see, we all are aware of the internet, and I have coined my own term, and maybe I hope if you hear it from somewhere else, you can remember that one day I told you about it. What is happening, as Rahul was saying, with the something which was started by the great Steve Jobs with Apple and the iOS, further with Android. So we are experiencing internet in a very different way. And I personally call this as transformational internet. I wish this word gets caught on by others. And so transformational internet is how we are experiencing. And transformational internet is primarily being driven by the OTT players. Now, how the operators, and again we have, not to repeat any of the things said earlier, how the operators can leverage their own strengths and benefit from transformational internet is up to them.
Finally, though I look like young, I'm not that young. Okay, on lighter side, I have a kid of 16 years, and what he was saying was that how many times does he use a phone? He is in 12th standard, so it's SYGC, junior college. And what it does is he uses the phone for music, he uses the phone for WhatsApp, but he hardly picks up the phone for answering a phone call. What he tops up on the prepaid SIM in my name, as you rightly said about the KYC. So I'm just bringing the entire dialogue into one story. He uses my number, which is in my name. So he only tops up the data plan. He never tops up the voice plan. But till date, what has happened is that over a period of time, his usage on the data side is more to do not with the apps which he likes it, but the apps which he is interested into. So consolidation of app, I think there are more than 10 million apps on Android. I can be wrong in that number. It can be much more than that. But I think the most famous apps are only counted in 2 digits. Maybe 15 apps max, 20 apps. I don't know anybody has got more than 20 apps in their smartphone and actively using it. So there are apps, but as he rightly said that, those apps are not innovative. It doesn't give a user experience. But when there was a ringtone back, RBTs, which were talked on the telco side, I think each and every mobile phone which we used to dial, we used to hear a ringtone. So the kind of usage which can come with a telco-driven product cannot have for all OTT developments. That's what probably is where telco can leverage their strength.
Well, adding to that is right now for any service like normal value-added services, we have the VAS vendor has the telco server integrated with their billing system, with the content delivery and everything. For the OTT, there is a miss like who is the customer care face? Is it telco or the OTT player? It's neither. That is where actually it is getting dropped. It is neither this hand which is holding it up, neither the other hand. So that must be there must be a very strong hand-holding between the OTT player and the telco for giving customer service to the consumers. Otherwise, the value what we are creating will be getting lost.
See, today, if you see the OTT players, the way they have changed the entire ecosystem, the ecosystem is innovating at a lightning speed, which I don't think so telecom operator would be able to match because of so many reasons. We all know the way, Skype and all, they have built up and the way people are actually using it. Whether we like it or not, customer is actually looking for the right solution. Now, the most important part is, today, when we talk about telecom operator actually gives the same one size fit for all kind of API, which is not going to work. Today, if you have a VAS services, you treat your developers in the VAS area to push your services. Similarly, unless and until if you allow developers to come and build something on the telecom, it will not grow. Today, if you ask any youngster, people will say, look, I want to make an app on Apple platform. Why? Because at the age of 15, I want to become a millionaire. Nobody says, I want to make an app on the telecom operator because telecom operator is not allowing. Take an example of Facebook. Facebook is nothing but they have actually opened platform and they have given a chance to all the developers to create unique things. Hence, they are developing various things on the Facebook. People are coming, they are using lots of things on Facebook. And of course, they are getting revenue. Today, if you talk about the revenue, Google controls approximately 54% of the mobile advertising revenue. This is all about OTT. If I trust on the certain reports published by Gartner, by 2016, OTT revenue is going to be approximately 39 billion as compared to telecom operator advertising revenues hardly 4.75 billion. So the ecosystem is changing. All these guys, all these developers, they are developing day in, day out, whether it's Android, whether it's an iOS platform, they are not bothered about it. They're bothered about the concept, innovation, and they keep on doing the innovations. You talk to, there's lots of youngsters sitting. If you ask and do a polling, I'm sure lots of people will say, yes, I want to make an app on so-and-so platform. Because this gives me an opportunity to make money. Rahul rightly said, in India, or maybe the most of the other part of the world, operator says, look, I need 80% man. A poor chap is making an application, doing all the efforts to promote the application, and operator says, I need 80%. Why? What for? That is why they come to the Facebook kind of platform, and they want to build something on the OTT platform.
I think that's where they have lost the innovation game. So the crux of the matter is that the threat to the telcos is real from the OTTs, and they really have to gear up. But also the second part is that telcos and OTT can coexist and make for a very compelling proposition to the end consumer who gets all that he wants from both of them.
I believe telco needs to actually understand the rule of the ecosystem. They have to play within the rule as per their own financial strength, their innovation, hence come and place themselves in the entire ecosystem. then only it will make viable for the telecom operator. Otherwise, we'll sit again next year, we'll say the SMS revenue has gone down, voice revenue has gone down. Lots of apps are there, they're giving free of cost option to you. This is the one area where telco has to sit and they have to do something. I'm nothing on you, Amit. I'm just completely on the telco part. Please don't take it on me.
Actually, coming back to you, like you were.
Now we know why Rohit kind of switched over from telco to an OTT.
Well, again, coming to your point is that we have a lot of like 10,000 apps or 1 million apps we already have. So many people will also like to innovate on the telco. Now, thing is that we are catering to the millions of subscribers. So when we are making something open and live for the customers, if somebody subscribes to it and the quality of service is not correct, because it is an innovation phase which the particular company or OTT player is going through. So the experience goes very bad for the consumers. And who will be facing it? The telcos. So why the telcos will be actually risking their quality of service because of some innovation going on their life pipe?
See, today telco base is very, very meager actually. If you see the Apple iOS base or the Android base, they're also an open platform. They're allowing, they're putting a check and balances. You can also have a check and balance. I'm not saying you go and simply open everything for the developers.
So that's right. Particularly
this
that is happening
is
actually.
Endless. This debate is endless. There is no conclusion to this. So I'd like to bring this panel discussion to a close, and I'd like to thank all the panelists for contributing to a very interactive session here. Thank you. And I would like to thank SITM for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, dear panelists, for such an enlightening and invigorating session. I now invite my colleagues to felicitate our esteemed dignitaries with mementos as a token of our gratitude and appreciation.
Friend, you have been a great audience. Thank you very much. You have been a great audience.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.